I'm going to hit record. And here we are. Welcome to yet another installment of the Show Will Go On Business Survival Series webinar. I am your host, Tom Stimson, here to share with you what I know about helping you through this initial stages of this pandemic crisis and whatever is going to come afterwards. So here's all the places you can find me online. Please visit, chat with me, send me emails, schedule phone calls. I'm happy to talk with all of you. I've enjoyed all the folks I've got to meet over the past several weeks. What is it, 10 weeks now? So actually 12 weeks because I started calling the world back at the beginning of March. So just a reminder, Avixa is supporting this broadcast so that we can get this information out to you and help you guys with your businesses. InfoComm Connected is going to be the online version of InfoComm, which of course had to be canceled. So do check that out, register for it. There's some great programs. I recorded a panel discussion yesterday, and we're going to do live chat and live Q&A along with it when it's presented. I also recorded a short seminar, and we're going to do live chat and live Q&A when that's presented as well. So they have programs back during the official dates of InfoComm, but they've got stuff scheduled all through the summer for you. So get online, get connected with Avixa, and be part of all that. The Business Survival Exchange will not be held this Friday because it's a holiday weekend here in the U.S., and I think everybody deserves a holiday, so please take yours if you have one. So they will come back again the following week, but do get registered for it so that they can get you on that list. Of course, here's the webinar recording, this, so you know where to find this. Again, it'll be updated in a couple of hours after this event is over. I'm still doing free calls. I've done 3 today. Let me help. If you have questions about the webinars, about your business, you just want to make sure you're making some good moves, I'll give you some honest feedback. I'll let you know, I'll validate the things that you're doing well. You're welcome to my time. I give it freely, so don't hesitate to make that. You're not going to get, he can't get better than free is all I'm saying. AV Matters podcast. Wallace Johnson interviews me every 2 weeks, and we go over some of the questions about these webinars and the situation in general. It's always fun. Wallace is a great interviewer, and I think you'll enjoy listening to those. We have an AV Matters Facebook group. We're discussing stuff, sharing information on there. Please join us. We could use the faces because there's lots of stuff we should be talking about. So without further ado, I'll remind you, if you'll post questions in the Q&A box, I will answer them as I can get to them. I will, if they are relevant to what I'm talking about, I may stop and answer them right away. Otherwise, I'll come back and I'll get to them at the end after we've been through most of the content. For those of you who only have an hour, I'll try and get the content done within an hour, but the Q&A will last as long as you have questions, or 2:30 my time, whichever comes first. If you want to chat with each other, please use the chat box. Yeah, there you go. You guys are all over it, so have fun with that. Words of the week. What have I been hearing? Hopeful, try, and adjust. Remember the stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, and how we kind of go forward and backwards, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then circumstances change, and we start the cycle over again with a new issue. A lot of folks right now being very hopeful because there are openings going on across the U.S. And around the world, and 25% comes up a lot because 25% is typically the occupancy number, and we're looking at 25% of our business at the end of the year and all of this kind of stuff. So very, very common words. Choice, endurance, marathon. We're in this for the long haul. I can't emphasize enough, and those of you who've been with me for all these weeks know that, I don't think this is a blip. I think this is a sea change in business, and that we're not going to get back to business as normal. We can't just shut our business down and wait for things to start back up again and then start back up and do business as usual. Business as usual is gone. We're going to find a new usual, and we need to figure out what that is. And that's a lot about what these webinars are about. Thank you, Joe. I give my time freely. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I'm doing well. I'm healthy. Family's healthy. I've got a lovely home and a great yard and a neighborhood I can ride my bike in safely. So I'm in great shape and have some very loyal clients that are helping me get through all of this. So thank you very, very much for asking. So some updates. I got a try and do list here. There's a lot of make-do work available right now, and I know a lot of you don't want to try it. There's a lot of resistance to, well, that's not our business. We don't do this. But the more I talk to you, the companies that are really thriving and have a great attitude of taking on some of that make-do work, maybe it's something that's not in their norm, but they're doing it because they can. It may be as simple as running deliveries for a charity using their trucks. Make-do work is out there. It's available. And trust me, it will boost your morale if you haven't done any of it. If you have people on PPP on your 8 weeks, find some stuff that you can do for your community. Even it's better than having people just sit at home and get paid, which I know is frustrating for you as owners. But do adjust your expectations about make-do work, because some of it pays okay, some of it doesn't pay at all, and some of it's just volunteer work. And I'd rather, personally, if I could afford it, do volunteer work than take really low pay for something. I'd rather feel better about giving my time than taking work that's below what the value of my time is, if you know what I mean. Do show some interest. Show some interest in the industry outside of your bubble. Your customers are looking everywhere. They're not just waiting for you to be ready to work again, or they're ready to work again and they're going to call you. They've broadened their horizon. They're getting information from a lot of different angles. Take some interest in what's going on out there and understand that it's going to affect you if you're not participating, which is why we're talking about marketing this week. Reduce expenses even more. I'm going to talk about this a little bit in the next slide. This is going to be a long haul, and I think it's going to be a longer haul than we've been prepared for. But that doesn't mean that we should be despondent. We have some good work to do, and there's a way to do this, and we need to focus on that. Think about alternative pricing. I'm finding that pricing is stable. For the people who are doing events and requoting events, we're not getting a lot of the pricing concession demands from customers. We're getting reduction in scope, change in scope, and we're actually getting a lot of add-on to turn the event into a hybrid event. So I wouldn't be quick to adjust your pricing down, which is something we were very concerned about 8 weeks ago, that there would have some softness in the pricing going forward. I think your pricing is going to be fine, and I think if you follow the methodology of selling the value of what you do instead of the parts and pieces, you're going to find that you're going to be able to command even higher margins as long as you don't over-deliver, which is always the key. So some updates on my views and some things, on my take on things. I do talk to a lot of folks every week, and I'm still running into folks who are holding on to infrastructure and keeping larger staffs in anticipation of needing them in 6, 8, or even 12 months from now. And holding on to infrastructure because you think you will need it in a year is extremely risky. You're burning through cash that you might need if something changes that you're not aware of yet. And we're still expecting who knows what kind of changes. So I'm encouraging you to look long and hard at what you need now and know that you have the skills and the resources to build your business back up, rather than trying to hold on to something because, oh, we have enough money to make it through the end of the year. That's not a good reason to hold on to a bunch of infrastructure that you don't actually need right now. It's not great business sense, right? Revenue is, albeit small, I'm talking to more and more people who are finding revenue streams. I'm talking to folks regularly who are doing 6 or 10 streaming events a week. That starts to add up into some real money. Many are keeping as many as a quarter of their staff engaged and working on streaming projects. If you're in a position to do that, or if that fits your market need, why wouldn't you be doing that? I still believe that Q4 of this year, unless we have something really bad happen, um, we will see about 25% of last year's revenue. I don't know what the mix will be. I don't know which segments are going to be better than others. I would be planning for about 25% of last year's revenue. And the assumptions that are based on this is that while we're doing some reopening, we're going to have a resurgence in infections. We're going to have another partial shutdown, another reopening, another partial shutdown, while people learn how to live in a society with a pandemic disease still in play. I think by the fall, we'll have a lot of that under control, and we'll be able to have some properly social distance meetings and businesses and be able to do some business. And with the hybrid element of this, you may only be doing 10% of the shows that you did last year, but you'll probably be doing 25% of the revenue because of the added elements and the things that you do that are valuable to the customers that have an audience that is now spread probably all over the world. So, so we got a couple of years of working our way back up to something that will be normal and usual again, but it's probably not going to look like what we just left. Now, I remind all of you, I'm very optimistic about this because I know any business can make money at any size if they do good business. You have to adjust your costs. You need to shed overhead, and if you think you've shed enough, then you need to shed again. So at this point, you'd be better off shedding too much overhead and having to add it back later. Even if that means, getting rid of some physical offices, doing some buyouts on some leases so that you don't have to rent as much space. Whatever it is that you need to do to get your business down to a size that can be profitable if the business is available, that's what you should be doing right now. So last week, I talked a lot about phases. Our phase, all over the news, all over the internet, we're hearing about all the different phases. I don't think anybody's using the same terms for the same thing, so I apologize. No, this doesn't line up with CDC phases or your governor's phases. These are my phases. Phase one is make ready. You should be done by now. Okay? I know some of you are in the middle of your PPP payroll period, that 8 weeks where you've got people back and you're getting some of that make ready stuff done. And get it done. Okay. You have limited to no revenue. You only have expense, but hopefully you're just about there. In phase two, which most of us are in now, we're getting limited projects. A lot of them are virtual, but we're getting some physical projects. We're getting some offsite projects, and these are happening. Phase three, which is right around the corner, we're getting these first reopenings in the US. I think we can't get too excited about this because a week from now, we're going to be finding out the price for that in terms of infections, and then we're going to have an adjustment. But sometime in the next 3-4 weeks, we're going to start seeing more summer business, people finding the ways to properly support summer events with audiences. And there's always going to be a digital and live component in these things. So that's our first real reopen. I don't consider what we're doing right now the first reopen. I figure the first reopen is really going to be middle of June. Phase four will be the cautiously open, which right now I'm expecting to be late or as early as September, but more likely October. And that's when a lot of the events will happen that are still on your books. They haven't canceled because the venues aren't letting them out of contracts. Interesting note, I've learned from a number of folks this past week in the social event world that a lot of venues that do social events are going out of business and canceling. Weddings are struggling to find venues to hold their wedding. And so the tent rental business is going through the roof because everybody's having to use ad hoc sites because the wedding venues are turning away contracts and canceling contracts. So some interesting opportunities that happen. So pay attention, get outside your bubble, pay attention to what's going on around you. So this week, we're going to talk about sales and marketing. And I see that many of you have been marketing your streaming capabilities in studios, and good for you. Some of you have seen some success. Others have heard nothing but crickets. And the question is, why is that? Well, here's the reason. The bigger your pivot, the bigger your marketing play. So if you're going from doing small meetings and events, and all of a sudden you're trying to do online events. That's a pretty huge pivot. And if you don't have a marketing presence and some marketing capabilities, that's a huge pivot to cover simply by changing the header on your website and sending out a few emails to clients. So the bigger your pivot, the bigger your marketing play. And many of you are having to make some huge pivot moves in this new normal, next normal. So please, you can't jump from truck and dock shows to virtual shows without some sort of a bridge. And if you already have credibility in the telemeeting space, as some of you do, by virtue of the technology you use or the types of events you've done in the past, then you still have to acquire credibility. So all the skill in the world won't win jobs if you don't have credibility. And in order to establish credibility, we'll have to talk to our audience, all right? And here's the tricky part. Even when they don't need to buy anything, we have to talk to them, which freaks some of you out, okay? This is why sales is a poor substitute for marketing in times like this, because salespeople want to talk to clients about their next show, their next project, their next gig. And it's not time to talk about that. It's time to establish your credibility in an expertise that you apparently didn't have 2 months ago, or the client didn't know you had 2 months ago. And you've got to bridge that gap. And this is where marketing comes in. And the better marketing machine you have, the easier it is for you to make this transition. And why are we making this transition? This is all about having a sales pipeline. And a sales pipeline is about potential. It's not just about confirmed work. 80% of your sales pipeline is unconfirmed, non-existent work. It's all things that you're prepping. It's prospects and opportunities. It's educating your customers. There's so much stuff going on out there. And if your entire marketing world is focused on the people who've asked you for a quote, then you're only looking at the tip of the iceberg. We've missed everything that's under the water. So a lot of having a pipeline is having people to talk to about stuff. It's not work that's going to happen. It's the things that are around that work. It will happen one day. Tell me how other people are doing this. Okay? Right now, a lot of you are short on conversations with your channel because you don't have any work to do, so you're not talking to them. Some of you believe that your sales team is going to pick up the slack and get your pipeline rebuilt by repeatedly checking in to see if the clients have any work yet. Okay? By the time clients need you, it will be too late. Okay? Someone else is going to have cultivated their attention and engaged with them, okay, and wonder where you've been all this time. All I keep hearing from is a salesperson who says, well, if you don't have a show to talk about, well, I'll check back with you in a month. In the meantime, somebody else has engaged them and informed them about things and educated them and offered them free tools and resources and helped them rethink how their next event is going to go for nothing, which is, well, marketing, right? So all of you, who I hope is a small portion of these folks, who have ignored marketing or felt you didn't need it because business was just fine, really, really, really need marketing now. So marketing's not optional anymore. Okay? All your buyers are influenced by branding and marketing. You know, your reputation, the work that you've done in the past really doesn't matter right now because the problems your customers are facing are different than the problems you've solved for them in the past. So if you don't have a message or you have the wrong message, you might be dissuading the right buyer from talking to you, okay? And poor marketing always equals low margins. I have never worked with a company with incredible margins that, you know, had no marketing effort whatsoever. They weren't, there was nothing, no value proposition that they were leveraging to get those higher margins. There's always marketing going on in these successful companies. Now, you've got to have your sales processes in place. And I know a lot of you in phase one, and you're sorting all that out and you're redoing your pricing and you're making sure that, you know, your procedures are in place. That's all good and fine. You need to do that because having a custom sales process that adapts for every customer is a great way to erode your credibility because you won't do it consistently. You'll get inconsistent results from it. You'll have an inconsistent customer experience. And you won't get people going where you need them to go. Right now, because we can't meet face-to-face, we're not going to cocktail parties, some of you are playing golf, and good for you if you can do that. We need digital energy, okay? And we need a lot of digital marketing to fill in the gap and get us that bridge between, loading dock shows and shows online, or whatever your pivot happens to be. Now, what's changed, and this is not new to the past 2 months. Okay. Question here, what do you mean by infrastructure? Infrastructure is your overhead. Your building is infrastructure. Your trucks are infrastructure. Your computer network is infrastructure. Your employees, your admin team is infrastructure. So all these things that are in place to help other things happen, all that support, and on your P&L, it typically shows up in your expenses below the line, not cost of goods sold. Okay, thanks for asking. So what's really changed, and this is not new to this pandemic era here. Our barriers to entry in our industries have all but vaporized over the past 10 years. They've been slowly disappearing for the past 20 years. There's no real advantages to having infrastructure anymore. The playing field is quite large, and it's very level. So, two individuals, one with a huge company behind them and one working out of their home, can put the same face onto a customer. This is why you need marketing, because their marketing will trump your marketing, right? It doesn't matter what's behind them, it's what does the customer engage with. E-marketing is extremely inexpensive. There's minimum startup costs. There's a few things you need to know. There's so much free information about how to do it on the internet. I'm going to try and give you some simple things to think about. And e-marketing replaces so many things that you've done in the past. Having a business development person who's getting on a plane every week, going from city to city, talking to clients, doing meet and greets, having lunches, buying drinks, tens of thousands of dollars a month on business development, you can actually replace all of that with e-marketing, right? And right now, you kind of need to, right? We have an advantage right now in that our audience is wired for promotions. I mean, everyone has told me, and I've experienced it, people are answering their cell phones. They're at home. They're working from home. This is not a call from the office. Yeah, they'd love to talk to somebody. So it's actually very easy right now to get those calls and those meetings in, okay, if the customer has a reason to talk to you, right? So we're seeing an awful lot of change, and the audience is ready for change, and they're ready to have conversations, and they know there are new things that they have to learn. The question is, who are they going to learn them from? So if we're going to talk about marketing, we have to talk about several things. One of them is brand. There are some myths about brand. If I ask you about your brand, and I work with marketing every day, so when I ask about brand, it's not probably the same brand that you're thinking of. You're going to tell me, oh, my logo's fine. You say our work speaks for ourselves. We don't need to stand for anything other than our work. We just need great people and more customers. We don't need to do anything with our brand, right? Brand is not for you, okay? Brand is how customers feel about themselves when they do business with you. And if they're looking or considering at doing business with you, brand is going to tell them how they will feel if they do that. And we want them to feel great. Good marketing, good brand means the customer's going, man, I can't wait to do business with them because I'm going to feel real good about myself when I do that. All right? Without brand, you're pushing a boulder up a hill. Heck, you're pushing sand up a hill. With brand, people are running up the hill to have a conversation with you. So brand becomes very, very important in this e-marketing world that we're all dealing with right now. Then some myths about sales. And I'm not trying to beat up salespeople today, though there are days that I do that. There's this myth that salespeople can find new business, that they can maintain your existing customers, that they can negotiate profitable deals, and they can sell more every year. And in my 40 years in this business and my 15 years or 20 years of consulting, I can count on two fingers the number of times I've met a salesperson who meets that description. They just don't exist. It's a myth that we've created. Sometimes good salespeople can create that myth about themselves. We also believe that adding salespeople will increase revenue. That, we'll have access to more RFPs, we can write more quotes, we can win more business if we just had more salespeople. What these two myths together tell me is that your business has salespeople involved after the sale to the point that they cannot sell more. Okay? So what we need to know is that salespersons involved in the delivery of the product cannot help you grow your business. So when I'm talking about a salesperson, I'm talking about a classic salesperson whose job is to take an opportunity, negotiate it to the right product or service for that customer, and let the team carry on with the work, which is not the same as a handoff and walk away. So if they're involved in the delivery process, that means they're not available to help the next client or work on the next thing. So that's something that we have to understand in the marketing process, is that when I talk about marketing, I'm talking about marketing where the sales role is an actual sales role, not business development, prospecting, project management, production management, wearing a headset on show site and calling the show. Okay? That's a different role altogether. We have a lot of myths about marketing. Matter of fact, if I want to get thrown out of somebody's office, all I have to do is lead with a discussion of marketing and they'll walk me right to the door. Then one of the myths is that nothing marketing does directly leads to new business. Whenever I'm talking to a business owner who is not doing the marketing they should be, they're going to say, well, what's the cost and how quickly will I get my money back? That's the wrong question, okay? It does have a cost and you are going to get an ROI, but by the time you get that money back, you will have spent it 3 more times because you're going to be getting more money. There's some myths about marketing tactics are really just about creating a better image, having a prettier website, and that our reputation is based on referrals, so we don't need all of that. Okay, right now you have no business, you're not getting any referrals, and the referrals you would get are for business that people aren't doing anymore. So all of a sudden you need marketing to help you with your image because your referrals just fell flat. And then there's this myth that if you do good work, you don't need marketing and that it's a sign of weakness. And you know, I can tell you measurably that is not true. The companies that market are the ones that are inherently strong, because most of you are only marketing because you're wildly successful and you can afford to market to see if you can do even better. My view is if you're not doing well, you can't afford to not market, and that's where you need to be making an investment instead of buying another 200 tiles of LED wall. Marketing is expensive lying. Well, actually, that's probably true. No, that was an actual quote from a client. Ads are inexpensive lying. But, you know, really, these are myths because marketing affects what people think before they know you and reinforces that afterwards. So for the people who don't know you, marketing is going to help them change what they're expecting to think about you. I often use the war terms about softening the beach. You know, before we're gonna storm the beach, we want to drop a few shells on there to make sure we knock out a few emplacements before we get out there on the beach. That's really what marketing is. It's softening the beach for people so they are predisposed to listen to what you say. And once they are in your fold and once they're engaging with you, marketing helps remind them that they've made a good choice and that they're seeing a consistency between those two things. Inconsistency between your marketing and your brand image and your actual execution is, you know, this giant stop sign for customers. Once they see that disparity, they go, wait a minute, I don't trust anything that happens at this point. So we want to make sure that there's a lot of genuineness in our marketing as well as our execution. And if your execution isn't genuine, no amount of marketing is actually going to help you in the long run. It may put a Band-Aid on it, it'll put some lipstick on that pig, as we say here in Texas, but it's not going to fundamentally change who you are where a customer wants to stay with you. So I'm not going to talk about sales and marketing without putting a marketing funnel up there. So there it is. A sales funnel, marketing funnel, the terms are interchangeable in my world. You've got contacts, which come from everybody. You have contacts all over your business. The worst thing you could do is say, well, we've only done business with 200 people in the past year and a half, so my mailing list is 200 people. No. Your contact database, whether you have a formal database or you have 27 Outlook groups through your employees, you have thousands of contacts. And you need to market to all of them, even if they will never, ever buy from you. Because marketing is about creating the aura. You have a halo effect in marketing. And if you want referrals, make sure every supplier, every freelancer, you know, your banker, everybody's on your mailing list and they know what you're up to and they can evangelize for you. So we need a lot of contacts. Contacts will generate leads. If I have a marketing mechanism that allows me to capture leads, it's as simple as signing up for a newsletter on your website. That's a lead, right? Now, what do we do with them? Well, most of us do absolutely nothing. But the business development process, which is part of marketing, can take a lead and convert it into a prospect. And we can do that digitally by offering more digital elements, solutions, ideas to those customers to get them to engage more deeply, to identify themselves as a prospect. Or we can do it the hard way, is call every lead and have a conversation with them and see if they might potentially be a prospect. I'm very much of the school that I want my funnel to self-select themselves all the way up to the opportunity stage if possible, but at the very least to the prospect stage, and then I'll finish converting them into customers. So marketing and business development, sales is a process that begins with the opportunities, and then of course we have delivery, and then we start the cycle over again because the customer you just finished with or the client you just finished with is once again a prospect, and they're back into the prospect funnel. So there's your quick tutor primer on funnels. So now the question is, who are we marketing to? Okay. As we think about that, I'm going to present several slides on that. Think about our current situation. Get outside of your space right now. You're working in your attic, your closet, your basement. You're working alone at the shop. There's an overlap between web-based communication, broadcast communication, and live entertainment that's going to redefine several industries. You know, we are technically in the communications industry. We're also in the entertainment industry. We're in the hospitality industry, okay? But we're also part of web-based communication. We're also part of broadcast, and we're part of live entertainment. And these overlaps in this, you know, this post-pandemic period where we're doing a lot more online and streaming and webcasting are all going to get very blurry, and we're not going to be sure who owns that space. And we have an opportunity as an industry to make sure that we insert ourselves into the space of saying, yeah, we're AV people, okay? So we understand a little bit about communications and broadcast and the live event, okay? A little bit about production, and we can bring all of these elements together. So we need to understand, we need to find that position, because your buyers are wondering, who should they be talking to right now? And obviously, you want them talking to you. Now, if you're outside your comfort zone in this conversation, and that's not who we are, well, trust me, your customer is going to be uncomfortable too, right? So don't get outside your comfort zone and misrepresent yourself or send out the wrong message. Get your act together. Figure out how this stuff works and where you're going to fit in, so that you can stake your claim in that space. Whether you're a B2B supplier, you're a direct-to-customer supplier, you work with a middleman producer, it doesn't matter what it is, figure out where you fit in and how you're going to blend these technologies and needs and be part of the solution. Target customer, who you're marketing to, is always paramount in these discussions, right? We need to rethink customers, right? Customers are not what they buy, it's where are they in their thinking cycle. And right now, most of your clients are somewhere in the unaware to aware stage in the thinking cycle. All the rules have changed, and they don't really know what's going on or where they fit in, right? So there's lots of different ways to segment customers for marketing. And if you're doing consumer marketing, it's that ready to buy thing. But you know what? Our customers don't have to be ready to buy. Okay, they need to be prepared to know who to talk to when they're ready to buy. Unlike a consumer product where we can generate want, I can scroll through my Facebook, see an ad for a really cool wet gadget, and buy it right away because it's like, wow, that solves a really neat problem. I gotta have that. That's not our industry, right? When they have a need, they're going to reach out to the people that is on top of their mind to help them deal with that, right? So that's the engaged buyer. So we need to meet our customers where they are. If they are engaged and ready to move, that's where we need to be talking to them. If they're curious and considering options, we shouldn't be talking about moving. We should be fulfilling their need to understand options. If they're aware but not sure what to do next, we need to educate them. right? If they're unaware of the issues, we need to educate them as well. So there's incremental engagement that we do in this. Starting with people who are unaware, we want to educate them about what's relevant in our industry. They may not pursue that education, in which case, don't worry about it. Okay? If they do, we can help them interpret the value of the education, then we give them something to do next. Okay? If they're aware, we don't want to educate them that you can't have meetings anymore because you know there's a pandemic. If they're aware of that issue, then we want to present common problems that the people are dealing with, and then we want to give them very thorough answers about how to deal with it. And there's reasons that we do this at these incremental engagements, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. People are curious. They want to explore the hidden issues. They want to get past the common problems, and maybe get down into the inner workings of things or the variations on things. And if they're engaged, they just need to know that you have the solutions that you've been talking about, and you can help them with their issues, and they're ready to get started. Now, let's talk about why we should connect, and then we'll talk about the purpose of interaction for each of those stages I just described, or those customer buying stages. So for each type of encounter, okay, you need to understand what it is that you want the prospect to do. Okay, you want to make the next step for them as easy as possible for their stage of awareness. So as we're moving them through the marketing funnel from lead to prospect to opportunity, we've got to show them the path and what's the value to them to go ahead and make that step, to make that move into the next category. Okay? So make that next step as easy as possible, and don't make it too big of a step or you'll lose them. Okay? My goal for you is always to have the prospect reaching out to you if possible, rather than you having to chase them down and try and get them to engage. People who reach out to you first are infinitely more likely to buy from you when it's time to buy than the ones that you hunted down. Okay? Now, if you want that they reach out to you, they may want or need more information before they'll do that, but that's part of what marketing does. It gives them the opportunity to get the information that they want until they're ready to have a human engagement. Right? Now, if you need to prompt a prospect, that means always meet them at their awareness stage, right? Asking for their business when they're only aware will derail all of your progress. That's too soon. That's wait a minute, I'm just trying to understand how do people have meetings in socially distanced environments, and you're asking me when my event is. Okay? This is another reason why I don't necessarily want salespeople in this process, because what we've tasked salespeople with is finding business, and this is a binary. I'm asking for the business, they don't have any, I'm done. But what we have lost is somebody in our funnel. Our pipeline just shrunk because we derailed this prospect. So for each state of the buyer, potential buyer, there's a purpose to the interaction we're going to have with them. For instance, if their state is unaware, okay, we're going to offer education. It might be a webinar, a video, a how-to, a checklist of things. And the goal of this, our purpose of this, is to see if they will develop some interest from that unaware buyer. Oh, I didn't really know that this was going to be a problem. Maybe I should learn more. I have other questions I need to get answers. And so our next step, or our call to action as we call it, is the opportunity to get more answers. You want more answers? Here's where you click to get more answers. Okay? Now, a prospect who is aware is at that I want more answers stage, right? And so we're going to offer them examples. It could be case studies or how-to videos. We're trying to build your credibility. Okay, you know, the example is yeah. Okay, so yeah. Here's how to if you work on cars and if you ever looked up a video to figure out how to install a shock absorber. Okay, there's all sorts of tutorials. Here's how you install a shock absorber. The call to action from that video is, did you know there are 27 kinds of shock absorbers? How do you know which one to choose? Whoa, tell me more about that. That's what a call to action does, is it takes the information that you have and makes the next information more valuable. What I can't say, hey, there are 27 kinds of shock absorbers, That's not what I'm going to click on when I'm trying to figure out how to install one. Does it make sense? So awareness state, we give them examples. We want to establish your credibility that you're an authority on this topic by giving them very complete information on non-complex concepts, and create the call to action to explore a deeper issue. It's what we call the what about questions. Okay? And this is what we do here in a webinar, right? I'm going to say something, you're going to ask me a what about question, use the Q&A box, please. Okay? And we're going to go deeper into that issue. Okay? And that's the purpose of that interaction. Now, once you're curious, okay, then we need to show the curious prospect some of your capabilities. This is when you might do a capabilities pitch. This is when you might do a demo or show them how a product works or what a product can do for you in this application. Showing somebody all the things you can do with streaming before they know why they need streaming is premature, and you're going to lose their attention. But once they're curious about it, that's the time to present that. I can do all of this digitally yet. I have not needed to have a human interaction with this customer yet if I don't want to. If I want to minimize the number of people on my team and the human cost of engaging new prospects, I can do all of this digitally, right? So our goal, we've established credibility in the previous stage. If I'm showing capabilities, I need to show them that I am an authority on this. I can show them experience. Okay? Here are 3 examples of people who did a streaming event for the first time. Here's what they did right, here's what they did wrong, here's how we can help you. Okay? The next step, the call to action to this is how can we work together? Now, how we can work together may be, yeah, when I have an event, I'll call you. Okay? Or, yeah, we're trying to figure out how to redo our November event right now. What do we do next? Aha! Thank you, marketing. Humans. I got somebody who's engaged. I'm going to offer them engagement. The goal is I'm going to eventually get some fees. If you're following my methodology of how to do a non-cancelable or non-refundable fees, there is billable work to be done very soon once we've started this engagement. And let us show you how we apply the process to your unique situation. That's all we're doing. So engagement means moving from theory to actually addressing the buyer's needs. Now, all of a sudden, I need people. I didn't need people involved in all of this before, because that's what marketing can do for you. So, authority. I want to talk about authority a little bit. Credibility means you're believable. Authority means you know that you have proof that you know what you're talking about. You need credentials. Most of you need to stake a claim on your expertise. I don't care that you don't know everything there is to know. You know what you do know. Stake a claim on that. Okay? Your authority on one topic, and your authority may be something simple. You may know exactly the right piece of decor to put in any environment for any kind of meeting. Stake your claim on that. Your authority on anything has a halo effect on other knowledge. For instance, if you want good financial advice without going to a financial planner, go ask a rich person. Go ask your surgeon. Right? Maybe they're not rich, but they're probably well off. But I bet they know more about investment than your neighbor does. Okay? The fact that they are an expert on surgery means any information that they have about investments will have a halo effect, and they will be an authority on investments if they actually do investments. See what I'm saying? So claim some authority so that you have some halo effect in whatever endeavor you take on or whatever question the customer may ask about. In your past authority, the stuff that was really important 3 months ago, 2 months ago, it does have relevance in today's issues. Okay? Right now, hybrid meetings, they're the new thing. It is no different than doing a traditional event if you're an expert in project manager. If your authority is in project management or production management, a hybrid meeting is just another meeting. You're going to use the exact same techniques. You're going to make the same things happen. These are just different moving parts. Right? And you need to approach it that way. You need to tell people, I get this. Look, this is just another show. Don't get me wrong. It's new for you. It is not new for people who have been doing events for their entire career. Here's how we approach it. Okay? That's the conversation that you want to have. And you can only have it if you've established authority before the conversation takes place. It's very hard to move from credibility to authority in one conversation. You've got to put enough information out there that the buyer, the prospect, assigns you authority and comes to you for that advice. Now, where should we do all of this connecting, all this marketing stuff that I'm talking about here? Look, you have a website, it needs to be updated. Even if you updated it 2 weeks ago, it probably needs to be updated again, because 2 weeks ago, all you did was put a banner up there that says, hey, we're open. Have you thought about a streaming meeting? That's your pivot strategy. Streaming meetings, great. Go back there and make your pivot strategy look normal. This is what we do. This is what we've always done. You just never asked us for it before, right? So if you're doing streaming meetings and that's your focus, make sure your website looks like you've always done it, and that is a normal thing for you, so they're comfortable reaching out to you. Do the things that will establish your credibility. All right. Emails, drip emails. This is not banging them every hour, every week, though it can be. Goodness knows I send you emails every week, right? Drip emails let everyone know what's going on. Newsletters are great. They sound trite, they sound old-fashioned, but right now, more people are opening and more people are reading them than ever before. So take advantage of that and establish a record of consistently providing useful information to the right phase of buyer, typically the aware, curious buyer, and give them information that will keep them engaged and elevate your authority and establish credibility. If you're on social media, and you probably should be, I don't find social media is great for taking prospects and turning them into opportunities, but it does reinforce your message. Okay? It makes sure your evangelists, which are all those people on your mailing list who are never going to buy from you and you don't understand why you're sending them emails, they're connected to you on social media. They're sharing, they're talking about you. If your banker and your attorney and your CPA aren't on your mailing list, shame on you. Because these are people who, when they make a referral, it's meaningful, right? And if they only make one referral in your entire relationship, that I guarantee that one referral will be more valuable than any referral you've had in the past month. So don't pare your list down, send it to everybody that you can. Now, we can get to the point where we start sending out personal emails where I might engage my sales team or you, the owner, or my buying team, and start sending out invitations to conversations. Hey, we're going to do a webinar, or we're going to do a webcast. Why don't you come join us? We're going to talk about this. And personal invitations work really well for the curious prospect to get them to go ahead and click on something and sign up. You know, the people that we were trying to get to our coffee meetings or brew crews on Friday evenings or whatever every month, those people need something to do, because right now you're not having an event at your office. So let's get them online with something, and they might miss it in your drip emails, or they may not give it the consideration, but that personal email from you saying, hey, Tom, I noticed you haven't registered for our streaming event on Wednesday. It's 30 minutes long. I hope you can make it. Can I sign you up? Okay. These will go a long way, especially right now. Phone messages work too. Okay. You can pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm hoping you're going to come on Thursday. Shoot me an email, text me. I'll make sure you get signed up. All right. And then whenever possible, especially now going forward, is do video calls. Okay. And whenever you can, make it a video call. If those of you who've been working with me for a while will notice that all of my Calendly appointments, if you book an appointment with me, even the 15-minute calls, they're video calls. 3 months ago, only 50% of the people joining me on the call used video. Many of them just dialed in on their cell phone and treated it like a teleconference. Now I'm getting about 95% of the people are coming in on video. Use the platform. Okay, AV people not using video calls. Come on, who does that? You know, where's your credibility go when you don't use video? So figure out how to work that into your system. Now, for the different phases of people that you're dealing with, the different levels of engagement, unaware, aware, curious, engaged, what are you offering? Okay. If they're phase one, I'm sorry, I put phases in too many places. You are in phase one of your business reopening. For instance, right now you're doing that make ready thing, that message you sent out to everybody, hey, we're open, we can come into the shop if we need to. That's that we can help message. Okay, we are past that, right? In phase two, we need to tell people what they should be thinking about. Hey, you're thinking about a streaming meeting? Well, guess what? We've been doing them for the past 6 weeks. Every week, let me tell you what we've learned. Here's the things that you need to be thinking about. So for most of you who are in phase two, this is the kind of messaging that you need to be putting out there through your newsletters, your marketing, your social media posts, your blog posts, any invitations. This is the information that people need. As you move into phase three, okay, then you're going to start talking about hybrid meetings, because we're getting closer and closer to the point where we're actually meeting in person with a telepresence option on it. And actually, it's going to be a digital meeting with an in-person option instead of the other way around. So we want to start talking about the advantages of doing a hybrid meeting and how awesome it really is. You know, so in phase one, we're being helpful. Hey, we're open. We're aware of the situation. We hope you're doing okay. Phase two, here's some insights. Here's examples of work we're doing. I'm a viable resource. Please reach out if I can help you. Phase three, talk about how effective your personal pivot is for your customers. Help them see themselves doing events again. Many of you have a palpable level of disdain for streaming events. Some of you are downright despondent and negative about it. If you are, don't talk to anybody. Get over that. Talk to people. Be excited about the potential of these events. Okay? And then in phase four, which remember for us could be September, October, you're going to be very prescriptive. Okay? Focus on developing innovations, move from credibility to authority. Okay? You will have done all of these things, but we're going to talk about them extensively as we get deeper and deeper into the post-pandemic era, or the mid-pandemic era as it may be. You're going to be doing things differently, you the customer, okay? I want you to understand how your third event's going to go. This is a very important tactic. When we're in phase four, and we've had many events under our belts, and your client probably has an event under their belt, we don't want to be talking about how to do your first event. It's kind of insulting. Let's talk about how to do your third or fourth event. Help them understand what the future work looks like and how they can get better faster. Because if you do that, they're going to call you and say, look, I just did my one event. I don't want to wait till my fourth event for it to get better. Can you fix it now? All right. Marketing, right? Now, how do we do all of this, right? This is the classic, you eat an elephant one bite at a time scenario. Here's what I would do. If we're having a 15-minute conversation about how I'm going to retool my marketing to be more effective in the phase that we're in right now, I'm going to make sure that my website, I want your website to make sure that it's targeting aware visitors. There's always stuff on there for unaware people, but you're not going to get a lot of value targeting unaware people. Aware people are going to click on stuff. Unaware people usually have to be drug into it. So put your energy in people who are most likely to click and read a blog post or sign up for a webinar, right? Your digital newsletter should be targeting people who are curious with what they're missing, okay? So on your website, you might have a lead magnet that says, here's the 12 things that you need to know to do your first streaming meeting. In the newsletter, you say, hey, do you want to learn more about how to do your fourth streaming meeting? Join us on this WebEx. All right. On social media, you're targeting people who are curious and engaged. Engaged people already know who you are. They want to see you doing business as usual. They want to see their friends and their team out there having fun, doing socially distanced control deck work for a production studio. And for some reason, customers think that's a hoot. And if you're doing direct marketing, if you're sending emails to people or calling them, extend to them an invitation to come learn something. And by come learn, I mean virtually learn something. Hey, we're going to have a conversation about this. I'd like to introduce you to some other people who do what you do, and we're going to talk about what are the considerations about having hybrid meetings in a multinational firm. Okay? Whatever it might be, extend them an opportunity to learn. So these are the things that I would be focused on right now, figuring out what your solution, your marketing solution is to these challenges and these opportunities that you're facing. I know that's a lot, but I got a final thought for you, then it's time for some questions. This is my favorite quote of all the, I love quotes. W. Edwards Deming. Deming was an intellectual tour de force who designed the systems and processes that ultimately led Japan out of its post-war manufacturing model of fast and cheap products. You know, made in Japan used to mean cheap crap. And Japan became the preeminent manufacturer of high quality and high profit products. And they surpassed quality of the United States in the early 70s to the point where the entire auto industry in the US had to retool because the Japanese cars had surpassed the quality and consistency of the US vehicles. And it's all because of Deming, who said it is not necessary to change. Survival is not mandatory. And that's my message to you. You can wait till everything comes back. You might survive, you might not. I like your chances of surviving if you will do some of the marketing things that you need to do to re-engage with your customers and make them comfortable with whatever the next normal is. Whew! Wasn't that a ride? Next week, I'm going to talk about the business reboot. I'm going to talk about what not to do next time, which is really now this time, okay? So we want to rebuild your income before you rebuild your businesses. Hey, we can do them both at the same time. I'm going to kind of put that all together next week. The week after that will be our final one on this series, so we only have 2 more left. In the chat, the opening of the chat, I ask you for input or ideas on things that I could do for you after the series is over. What can we replace it with? What would you rather have? What do you want more information or topics on? More free stuff. I give away a lot of free stuff. I'll do more free stuff for you. Is there stuff that you think would be more valuable for you that you'd pay a little bit with? Share your ideas with me. Let's see what we can come up with and give you exactly what you need. All right, so we have several hundred people on the call right now, and I oddly have no questions. So I'm going to stand here and wait for a few seconds to see if you have any questions about marketing. I realize this maybe not everybody's favorite topic, or maybe I exploded everybody's brains today. But if you don't have questions about this, I won't talk about it, and I'll take my time back. I can wait. Thank you. All right. With everybody talking about pivoting to virtual, how can we be differentiating ourselves? Ah, great. Well, don't pivot to virtual. Make virtual something that you've always done, and maybe don't call it virtual. Okay? Maybe you have another way of doing it. Okay? Multi-place meetings. Find another way to present it. This is not new. Nothing we're talking about is actually new. I've been in this industry for a really long time. We've been doing virtual meetings. Of course, we use satellite trucks back in the day. This is just broadcast. It's just much easier to do nowadays. A Zoom conference is a virtual meeting. Right? It's not a big deal, right? What do you do that's valuable to the customer? Okay? Do you help them have more seamless engagement with their audiences? Okay? How can we help them do that? One thing that we were learning from all of this is that most of our audiences in virtual environments need much smaller bites of information. My tradition of doing hour-long webinars is really not the new standard. A lot of these webinars are getting shorter. It's 15 or 20 minutes is the new bite that people are taking. How can you be talking about all of this, right? So differentiate yourself by being knowledgeable about what the issues are and knowing how to apply the solutions. Okay? And right now, that's going to be very helpful for a lot of people out there that are looking for information. Who should a freelancer target? Depending on your skill set, and I love freelancer questions because I was one for many years and technically am one now. Um, Freelancers, depending on your skill set, understand where you fit in into a streaming environment. But right now, as a freelancer, the same marketing applies. As a matter of fact, I've toyed with doing a webinar just for freelancers. If you're a freelancer and you don't have a web page, how the hell do you market yourself? If you don't have a way to book yourself without actually having to talk to you on the phone or engage with you by email when you're in the middle of a show, how do you book business? A lot of you need to bring your marketing up to, well, 2020 would be a lovely time, and be virtually available and have people be able to learn more about you. And the same things that I talked about today in terms of marketing apply to what you do as a freelancer. Okay? You have people who are unaware, aware, curious, and engaged. And if they want to book you, make sure there's a link that they can book you. Okay? Don't waste it. Don't waste their time at all. If they want to learn more about you or who you've worked with, ask them to submit their email and then share with them a list of people that you've worked with and references. There's all sorts of things you can do on websites that are essentially free. And a matter of fact, a lot of this you can do in Facebook. So that's what you need to be doing, is be accessible, be a professional. The difference between a freelancer and somebody who's in between jobs is that a freelancer is still a freelancer when no one has a job, right? So right now, there's a lot of our comrades out there who are unemployed. Okay, you're not unemployed, you're a freelancer, and know the difference. Act like a professional, act like somebody who does this for a living, and make sure that you're communicating with all the people that you could be doing work with. And now is a great time to be making the rounds, because the people you need to contact, well, they don't have any work, but they're also kind of available, right? And what I did as a freelancer is I visited all of this is back in the day where you actually got in a car and you went to somebody's office to say hello. I would bring the information from the last office I visited. So share information about what's going on in the industry. What are you hearing? Who's doing what? Be somebody who can, without sharing trade secrets, okay, cross-populate some information. And that's valuable to people. So be somebody that people look forward to seeing. How can we entice you to keep these going? Do a GoFundMe for you to do these. If there's demand to keep this thing going and do a weekly survival series webinar, shoot me some emails, show some support. I'll see if Avixa wants to keep it going. I also have a sense for these things. I've been doing this for a long time. We may have run our course, but I have no problem doing it, but I'm also willing to do something different. And I'm always curious about what that might look like. How do you pay for marketing when you have very little revenue? This is an awesome question. This is about investing, okay? How did you buy equipment before you had customers? I mean, you're a startup again. Okay? Right now, to be a startup, to be an effective startup, your investment needs to be in marketing. You shouldn't be out and buying gear and hiring people and setting up offices. I had a call, which I will remember as long as I'm in this business, just a few months ago, with a colleague who she was starting her own business, and she felt she had to, hire this person, hire that person, get an office space, get a little warehouse, and she had to have all these trappings in order to do business. And, it was a free phone call, but at the end of 20 minutes, I had her convinced that she didn't need any of that stuff. Okay? What she needed to invest in was marketing, which is not that much money. And nothing I described here today really cost anything. You already have all the tools available. It's just time, but you may lack a little bit of knowledge about what's the right way to do things, or maybe how to write a blog post, but you'd be surprised how inexpensive some of those things can be and how much free stuff is available. So a little bit of creativity, you have to spend actually very, very little. As somebody who markets for a living, I spend a lot of money on marketing now, but for years and years and years, it was all bootstrapped. So it doesn't cost a lot. My biggest expense back in the day was my Constant Contact subscription, so I could send out 5,000 emails every month. Next question. Is there a study across the nation on who is doing proposals or events? Just looking for a baseline on progress? No, there's not. Unfortunately, we're a small industry. Everybody I'm talking to is cranking out proposals right now. I've seen a huge upswing in the past week. In my groups, I've got a group coaching group of owners, 11 folks. Many of them are talking about the upswing and proposals they're getting. I've got another group starting next week, which is going to be it for a little bit. But if you want to, by the way, if you want to be part of a group coaching, you need to send me your information. I'll put you on a wait list until we have the next group going. I don't want to raise your hopes or waste your time. I think we'll start another group in 2 weeks. But if I get enough people, I'll certainly start another group and start promoting again. So let me know. So yeah, no studies were, anybody who can do studies is doing them on much bigger things than our little industry. Great advice about adding the bankers, accountants, and lawyers into our marketing. For some reason, we have never done that. It's really crazy. Yes, it is crazy. You've got a great mailing list. Use it. Question, Tom, do you have a template you recommend for our marketing? Something we can fill in and review to be sure we have our ducks in a row, example, positioning statement, blah, blah, blah. Yes, what I will do for you, thank you for reminding me of that, is when I post the video, I'm gonna add, it's a free tool I give away. I'm just gonna make it real easy for you to get to because it's a lead magnet. I'm gonna add the marketing stuff on there that you can download. So I've got a marketing template and some directions. Actually, it's a pretty huge tome. It's actually a mini book. But yeah, I'll share it with you. This is a great time to share that. Thanks for asking. Can you elaborate on marketing hybrid events with some examples? Well, one, of course, by hybrid event, we mean an event that has an in-person element and a virtual element. In other words, it has a remote audience. So as long as we're all clear on that. My first recommendation is don't ever call them hybrid events. It's now just an event. And if anybody calls you to quote on your event, be sure and ask them about how their remote audience is going to engage and what's the experience you want your remote audience to have. And if they say, well, I never thought about having a remote audience, and you say, well, are you aware that not everybody wants to come to a live event right now? And while I'm sure your wedding's going to be lovely, some people would just rather watch it from where they are. Why don't we do something really cool for them? Okay, so that's how we market that. So when I'm marketing about hybrid events, what I'm really saying, here's a great example of something we were able to do for a customer. And here's the outcome. Here's the testimonial that goes with that. That's what I want to talk about. If you're a B2B supplier and you supply the people who do these events, look at your tools that are especially well suited. There's a number of products, and I'm not going to quote any product names because I'm a little bit out of the times on products, but I've noticed there's quite a few products that have been on your shelf for a while that are all of a sudden are highly popular. Push them. Talk about those things. Here's what this product does. You probably need this. Hey, if you're doing a hybrid event or you're doing an event with a streaming component, here's the tool that you need. Here's how to do this. Here's how to do that. Anything you can do to help people understand how to use your product would be good marketing if you're B2B. All right. We get a majority of our warm leads from Google searches, and we're working quite hard to ensure we rank. I was interested to notice that you don't mention much about that. No, I don't. If you've been around me a while, you know that I don't talk about that very much at all. Are there any good techniques for nurturing these folks when they discover us for the first time? All right. So if you're going to take the time and money to leverage Google searches and do AdWords and SEO and all that, and that's great. I'm not going to disparage the efforts that you've done. That is something that costs money that I don't always recommend my clients do because our audience target is actually very narrow, and SEO and Google search AdWords are pretty broad. Once you get them, if you're going to pull somebody in with a Google search and you're going to get them to your website, what do you want them to do next? You know, that's what I was talking about. So you're taking somebody who was probably unaware or maybe aware, and you found a reason or a headline or a title or a word sequence that met their search criteria, and you're going to pull them over. You better deliver something. But whatever you deliver better have a call to action on the end of it. For instance, if they're just trying to learn what is a streaming event, what's the definition of a streaming event, and you happen to have that on your website, okay, then the call to action on that blog post on, this is the definition of a streaming event, and you've got a little blog post about it, and that's what pulled them in. Then in the middle of that blog post, you need to have a link for, here are the 12 things that you need to remember before doing your first streaming event. And when they click on that, it asks for their email address, and you give them a free PDF. That's called a lead magnet, okay? And now they're in your database, and now you can send them an email. It'll sign you up for their your newsletter. Okay? Now you've got some level of engagement, but you've captured them, which you didn't do with the Google search. So the whole point of the Google search is to get somebody to your website so you can capture them. Make sure you do something that will capture, that is sequential. I hope that answers your question. Should we be continuing with our, this is a different person. Should we be continuing with our per pay AdWords to drive folks to our website via Google? We've been paying $600 a month for the service and wondering if we continue, pull them back, or double down. Here's an example of where if you can measure the ROI of those AdWords and you're getting, you know, a 4-to-1 return, then yeah, I'd keep doing it. Most people can't actually track the return on this. And for me right now, that's a pretty huge expense, when for that same $600 a month, I can get an awful lot of engagement. I could get a blogger to write you 4 blog posts or 2 lead magnets for your website. There's a lot of things you could do with $600 a month that might be more valuable than just getting some traffic to your website. But again, if they get to your website and there's nothing there that's going to capture them, that's enticing, I would spend $600 to have something more enticing on my website. Good question. Okay, checking our time here. Off topic. Where is our industry? No, this is not off topic. Where is our industry leadership trying to help our industry? I see no national campaigns to help us. Oh, no. You're missing some stuff. Go back to the replay page when you check it this afternoon. Go back 2 webinars ago. There's a huge AV campaign that's put together by Freeman Corporation that's got probably 1,000 companies, including my own, endorsing it now. They're doing huge outreach on there. It's there. Trust me, it's there. You're not seeing it because you're not the target audience. But go check that out. Learn what they're doing. Support it. It's there. Great question. Thank you. How do you get customers to see your value add, you know, your quality project management organization, when their objection is, we can just do a Zoom meeting ourselves? Yeah, absolutely. If somebody says we can just do a Zoom meeting ourselves, one, it tells me the conversation was initiated by you and not by them, right? And that's why I want to do marketing where they initiate the conversation. Because if they initiate the conversation, okay, that means that they want to do a better Zoom meeting, right? So first of all, let's change our messaging or change our approach to have conversations. If, however, I initiate the conversation and they say, look, we can just do a Zoom meeting ourselves, I said, you need to say immediately, absolutely, of course you can. Okay. Do you mind if I send you the list of a checklist of 20 things that people should do before they're setting up a Zoom meeting? Okay. Oh, sure, yeah, I'd be happy to send that. Awesome. Send them a free piece of information. Okay. Otherwise, you just lost a valuable conversation. Okay. The purpose of that 20 list piece is that there are things they haven't thought of that might enhance their meeting or address problems they had, but they really didn't think they were solvable. Right? So we want to solve problems that people didn't know they had until they heard about the problem. And that's a lot of what your marketing can do, is uncover those things and make sure that the aware people become aware of an issue that is solvable, and curious people become aware that you can solve the problem and that you're an authority to do all of that. How do you get people to your website so they can see work we can do for them? Do you think print email works or print email better? All right, so that's the million-dollar question, right? So much of what we do today is getting people to your website. I remember when we were just trying to get people to look at our Yellow Pages ad, right? Yeah, we need to get people to our website. That's why some people opt for Google AdWords and things like that, is to drive traffic to your website. I prefer to drive traffic to my website by leveraging what I already have, which is a lot of email addresses. and I want to create content that's shareable. I might use social media to help shareable content get more circulation. And the content needs to be valuable. Your headlines, your subject matters, your titles need to be enticing, need to be engaging. The content's got to be helpful and not too long. And the purpose of the content on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or wherever you share things, or Twitter, is to drive people back to your website to read the blog post in its entirety or watch the video from your website, where they will see the opportunity to subscribe, learn about something else, read a different topic. You know, once they're on your website, you can do things for them to help keep them there longer and get them to engage with you. But the way we're getting people to our websites now is often through our social media channels, of which many of us have a huge footprint. I don't know about you. I've been on LinkedIn since LinkedIn was like really new. So I've got thousands of people connected to me on LinkedIn. And you can share things on LinkedIn and Facebook where you can get bigger audiences. And you even can buy circulation. If I'm going to spend $600 on Google AdWords, I might spend $600 on Facebook or LinkedIn to circulate information to a different audience. So all things to consider, and there are a lot of right answers to that question, but that was the quick answer. Okay, I'm trying to create a local media campaign to let everyone know how much trouble we are all in. We will be the last to recover. Yeah, so if you'll go look at it, can somebody remind me what the name of the Freeman Initiative is? Because right now I'm brain dead. If you'll go look at those public initiatives that are out there that talk about our industry, you don't have to create a campaign. You can share a campaign that's already out there. And that's the whole purpose of it. It has lots and lots of shareable links. Yeah, I'm scrolling down here, see if somebody can remember what that is. Or maybe it'll show up in the, all right, well, I'll make sure I put it back in today's notes from the webinar, make sure that you have that link. But take the efforts that are already out there and share them. If you go to Avixa's website, avixa.org, you'll see a link to that program supporting live events and talking about the importance of live events. Nobody cares that you were the first one to be hurt and the last one to come back. I'm sorry. I'm sympathetic because I'm in the same boat as you are. But that's not a compelling reason for people to engage with you. The fact is, we're last to come back because we're not doing the things that we need to do to be important as part of the solution. And that's what I'm talking about here. That's what these webinars are about, okay? Get over the woe is me, lick your wounds, life sucks, 90% of your business is gone, I get it, okay? But here's where business is going, and we need to get in front of it, and we need to be part of that and part of that solution. Let's see. Yeah, so use Facebook and Instagram, and then get emails and get them to your website. Yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, I'm doing a website relaunch. You just redid your website. Take everybody in your mailing list and say, hey, look at my new website. Isn't this cool? Come check it out. And get them to your website. And it's okay to get people to sign up again and again and again for something. There's nothing wrong with that in this methodology. If people have to share an email address with you every week to sign up for a webinar or attend something, that's okay. And they won't mind doing it as long as they don't have to give you their life history. So anything that'll drive people to your website, meet your customers where they are. Right now, they're on social media if they're not doing work from home. So I'm of the mindset that hybrid meetings are here to stay going forward. Yes, I agree with you. So how do you think the show budgets will be affected? That's the wrong question. Customer's budget is customer's budget. What do the people want to do for the budget that they have? Now, if they want to maintain everything about their in-person meeting that's the same, even though it's a smaller audience, and add a hybrid meeting, then obviously that's another budget. And as professionals, we need to act that way. Okay, we don't want to sell from a position of fear saying, well, we don't have any more money, we want to do a hybrid meeting. Then your answer is great. We'll take the budget that you have, we'll redistribute it so that we have the hybrid piece taken care of, and there you go. Your budget is your budget. So the good news is that I don't think your general pricing is going to be devalued in the near future. I'm seeing the indications I'm seeing, and this is just my opinion, is that what you've been getting for what you do is going to be intact. And we have an opportunity to do a lot of add-on to help people with the virtual part of that, to take over that part of the meeting that you're probably better equipped to do than somebody else they might be talking to. Yeah, this is a comment. I think you have so few questions. Actually, I got a lot of questions now, but I think you have so few questions on this topic because so many of us know we are not marketing properly or at all. Yes, I appreciate that honesty and vulnerability. Marketing is probably the most neglected thing I see of all the things that I touch in businesses, and I touch everything. Sales, operations, finance, management, marketing, business. I mean, marketing is by far the most neglected and the most underfunded. And my point is right now, it's the most valuable thing you could be doing right now. It's the best investment you could be making. Thank you. Great, wonderful comments. Thank you, everybody. All right, I'm out of questions. Oh, yeah, thank you. The Freeman Group is Go Live Together. So go Google Go Live Together. You'll find the Freeman Group there. They did a phenomenal job. They pulled it together in just a couple of weeks, got major players online and supporting it. It's a phenomenal effort. All right. Somebody here is looking for a non-biased guide to virtual event platforms. I've never seen one. If anybody has a guide or a website they're aware of that has an objective view of virtual event platforms and would like to share that in the chat, it would be much appreciated. That's not my expertise. I don't have that link. And this is the last question, and then I think it's time to go. How would you recommend defining hybrid event to existing clients and prospects? The fact of the matter is I wouldn't. I would just define it as an event, and every event has needs. Sometimes you have audience sitting at in theater style. Sometimes you have them sitting in classroom style. Sometimes they're remote. Sometimes you have presenters are remote. These are just all normal event things, okay? We know that it's really unusual now that all of our events are going to have an external component on it, and that we're going to have a streaming feed going out, and we need internet bandwidth to do all of this stuff. And all those, there's a branding opportunity on the other side of that, and then you've got inbound presenters and content that we have to pipe in. None of that is new to us. The density of the need is new to us. So I wouldn't say it's so much talk about it as being hybrid or being new or unusual. It's just simply new to this client. And say, yes, here's what happens. So when you have this and when you have this, these are the things that we do. Okay, now here's some considerations, and I've got some tools I can share with you, but tell me more about your event. So we don't really have to explain hybrid events other than to say, sometimes you have audience that's in the room, and sometimes you have audience that's not in the room, and you have presenters in the room, presenters not in the room, right? It's going to happen a lot more now. So not at the risk of, I don't want to be pedantic, but this is really not as new to our audience who've assumed that a lot of this has gone on all along or we're aware of it. It's new to us because it's not, for us, it's not ideal. And I think here's the underlying thing, and I just realized the underlying issue for many of my audience, with streaming, is you've never understood how to monetize it, and it was just an add-on thing that was an annoyance that didn't get the attention that is needed on your shows. And because you haven't figured out how to make money off of it, it's not important to you. Well, the fact of the matter is you need to figure out how to make money on it because it's extremely valuable to your customers right now. And that's the big shift for us. We need to meet our customers where they are. And right now, they need hybrid events, whatever that might be. So I'll leave the chat up here for a little bit. I'm going to wrap up for today, and I'll get the website, the web page, the landing page updated for you, and share some links. I'm going to peruse the chat and see if there's any things on there that I need to share with you as well. I thank you again for being here, all of you. I appreciate it very much. I appreciate your kind words. I'm really reluctant to read nice things about me out loud, but thank you for putting them on there. And I do read each and everything that you guys write, and I do appreciate it all. So thank you so much. Be well, be safe, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.